welcome back to your favorite show for all things gaming and rarely tech-related, Gentoo. As always, we're your hosts, Cade Cox.
And Chris Young. This week sees March slowing down a bit, with only a couple of notable releases.
First up, we have the Elder Scrolls Online Flames of Ambition DLC making its way to console. Releasing on PC and Stadia last week, it is now making its way to consoles on March 16th. The centerpiece of the Elder Scrolls Online Flames of Ambition DLC are 2 new dungeons. The expansion is free for ESO Plus subscribers, or you can get it for 1,500 crowns in the in-game store.
The other title worth mentioning is Marvel's Avengers. The Xbox Series X and S versions of the game launch later this week on March 18th and will feature enhanced visuals with higher resolution textures, better frame rates, and improved destruction. If you already own the game, a free next-gen upgrade will be available on March 18th via Smart Delivery, and your progress and player profile will carry across with you.
That's all for this week. These titles and many more will be releasing throughout the month, so be sure to keep up.
Next up is Cade taking a look at Boneworks in a different reality.
No. What the? Where did it go? No. Ah! Welcome back everyone to a new episode of A Different Reality, where you have to listen to me talk about whatever VR game I'm playing this week. I'm Cade Cox, and this week's game is Boneworks. Hey, would you look at that? This game has guns in it. Now we're back in business, baby, so you can stop complaining. You know who you are. Boneworks is a story-driven action-adventure game that was released in 2019, and it takes all 3 of those categories to another level. In Boneworks, you are an employee for a company that works exclusively on virtual reality technology inside of virtual reality, specifically the Myth OS. Myth OS is used by the company to develop new VR technology, as well as acting as their place of business. I know it's so meta, my head hurts. But there was a breach in security, and all the employees were kicked out except for you, and it is your job to reboot the system. You must navigate through the broken OS, solve puzzles, and fight through numerous types of enemies like null bodies, omni projectors, and my least favorite thing on the planet, crablets. There has not been many times where I get chills and goosebumps just at the sight of an enemy in a game, but these little creations straight from hell terrify me. Crablets are basically rogue VR headsets that attack you and try to latch themselves onto the heads of their victims. I have nightmares about what happens if they get a hold of you, even though I've never actually seen it. I think that's what scares me most. The movement in Boneworks is definitely on the intense side and would be very difficult for an inexperienced VR player to adjust to. You can jump, crouch, climb, and basically move any other way you could think of. The environment that you're in is filled with interesting textures and areas to explore. Sometimes the game even fooled my perception of an already fake reality. There is a small and very simple inventory system where you can carry 2 small objects and 2 larger objects. Your ammo is also your currency used to redeem gear, which keeps things very nice and simple. All of the weapons in this game are insanely detailed and are very fun to play with. Even the melee weapons behave differently depending on their size. Swinging a brick is going to behave much differently than a sledgehammer. There are pistols, rifles, and submachine guns in Boneworks, and they're also very fun to play with. There is very little recoil, which makes accuracy less of a problem, but throughout the game, ammo conservation is definitely something to pay attention to. This game really just throws you to the wolves from the very start. It teaches you how to play and how to use certain objects, but figuring out what is going on and how to solve problems is 100% up to you. Once you finish a level, you are given the option to load into the next. But first, you can throw your inventory items into the save bin so you can access them in sandbox mode. This gives players a reason to replay the game to get all the items they missed. All the extra game modes also need to be collected in the main game. These are much harder to find, as you can tell I only have 1, but there's definitely more than just the main story. If you were asking me if this should be your first VR game, I'd give you a hard no. But should you pick it up eventually when you get your bearings? 1000% yes. I give Boneworks 9 out of 10.
No Man's Sky is one of the most notorious travesties regarding a game's launch. From the lackluster amount of content to the blatantly false marketing, simply put, it was an absolute dumpster fire. But the question is, has Hello Games extinguished this mess, or have they just added more fuel to the flame nearly 5 years later? Well, in order to decide that, let's start off by looking at what this game did poorly, cementing themselves in the history of gaming. This game launched with a plethora of issues both internally and externally. One of its biggest issues was the actual core mechanics being extremely buggy. from simply generating muddy textures all the way to player interactions with objects, vehicles, or NPCs that more often than not would get you killed in ridiculous ways. Alongside the frustrating performance barriers, there was also an extreme lack of content that drove the general player base away quite quickly, and those that stuck with the game I can only assume felt the same kind of numbness as you would if you were to play Cookie Clicker. Of course, this shell of what was promised at launch enraged players to an unbelievable degree.
My handbag! You bad kitty!
However, No Man's Sky's biggest blunder was not with the game itself, but more so the empty promises that were given before release. Some of these most notable fibs were the extensive crafting methods, complex animal life, various space gameplay elements, and the most popular being the expansive multiplayer experience, which was ultimately non-existent. With all these promises being made leading up to the game's launch, it's obvious that they created a lot of hype around this title. But alas, when players were greeted with the finished product, they were met with the unfortunate realization that they were lied to. Now with all that being said, it seems impossible for a game as bold as this to resurrect itself. But instead of abandoning ship, Hello Games made it very clear that they were going to stick with No Man's Sky and turn it into the product that it should have been at launch. Starting as early as release day, the developers consistently pushed out different patches to resolve many of the technical issues. Later down the line, many significant updates would be introduced, providing ample amounts of content which included things such as base building, expanded vehicle types, more storylines, and, oh yeah, actual multiplayer. Alongside that, many of the problematic bugs were now a thing of the past, providing an overall blanket of polish to the game. And on top of all of that, the developers are still moving headstrong to this day in providing consistent content to keep the players engaged. No Man's Sky made gaming history before and after it launched, creating a whirlwind of excitement as well as outrage. If you were to travel back in time to 2016 and ask me if I would recommend this game, before you would even have time to finish your sentence, I would immediately say no way. But ask me again in 2021, and I would still stop you mid-sentence by saying absolutely. Saying that Hello Games turned this title around is an understatement. Instead, they took this game completely apart, rebuilt it, and continued expanding on it. So if you're now looking into picking this game up, I would say that it's well worth the money.
Could we really have more games to talk about?
Well, we definitely do, so keep on watching.
Welcome back to Scrambled Secrets, where we show off the best hidden Easter eggs in video games. I'm video game enthusiast Austin Claypool, and today we'll be looking at Red Dead Redemption 2. Created by Rockstar Games, Red Dead 2 is the long-anticipated sequel to Red Dead Redemption 1, which originally released back in 2010. In this game, you play as a gunslinging outlaw free to do whatever your heart desires. Of course, no cowboy is complete without his deed, so hop on your horse and let's uncover the top 5 Easter eggs hidden in Red Dead Redemption 2.
Our first Easter egg today is a conversation with Bigfoot. That's right, you can actually meet Bigfoot in Red Dead 2. Well, sort of. You don't actually see him, but you can talk to him through an opening to a cave. In order to trigger this Easter egg, you must first have discovered 30 different animals. After that, head to this point on the map to start the conversation with Bigfoot. What could a monster like him possibly have to say? Well, you'll have to load up your copy of the game to find out. Spoiler alert, he speaks perfect English. Hidden in the snowy mountains, you can find the fossils of a woolly mammoth. This is the last thing you expect to find in a game about cowboys and bandits. Nevertheless, head to this location on the map to uncover the bones of this once massive beast. Next up, we have a reference to the Jungle Book. More specifically, the giant snake named Ka. Dangling from the trees, you can see an abnormally large snake hidden in the woods. In the Jungle Book, Ka is known for using his hypnotic eyes to lure his prey. But luckily, this snake is no longer alive. Otherwise, that'd be one heck of a boss fight. One of the more random Easter eggs in Red Dead Redemption 2 is this mysterious gorilla. This strange primate is either stuffed or some sort of statue, as it's frozen in its crate. The strangest part about all this is the location of the gorilla. The crate it's in is nowhere near any train tracks, which is how it would have been transported. Maybe it was aliens. Okay, so that last one was a joke about the aliens, but aliens really do exist in Red Dead 2. Our final Easter egg today is an alien spacecraft that can be seen floating in the night sky. To catch this UFO, you must be on top of Mount Shan at 2 a.m. Unfortunately, you don't get abducted or anything cool like that, but nevertheless, it's still a really interesting Easter egg.
That's all I've got for this episode of Scrambled Secrets. Make sure to tune in next time for even more hidden Easter eggs you may have missed in your favorite video games. As always, I'm your host, Austin Claypool. Thanks for watching.
What is up, and welcome back to another episode of Monkey Plays, where Trennan and I try to survive Rust. Last week, we learned how to gamble, and then you saw me gamble on my scrap away. This week, as promised, Trennan and I are headed to Oil Rig, where we'll loot the blue keycard room and hopefully find a red keycard. This is going to be a two-part series because the red keycard crate is located in the blue keycard room. I'll get more into that later in this episode. But without further ado, welcome to Rust. So what is Oil Rig? Well, there are two rigs out at sea on the Rust map. One is the Oil Rig, which I'm calling Smoil, and that's where we'll be heading today. And the other is his bigger brother, the Large Oil Rig. The reason Trennan and I are going to Smoil is because it has less scientists guarding the rig rather than its bigger brother. It's comprised of 4 different levels. Trennan and I will have to go through each floor, clearing out the scientists until it's safe to loot the room. So how do we get to Oil Rig? Well, there are many options, but the two Trennan and I do the most is by using a boat purchased at the fishing village for 125 scrap, and a mini helicopter for 750 scrap purchased from the bandit camp. Noted, you can find boats and helicopters randomly on the map, but the odds are low and it may take a while to spawn in. Normally, we would land on the helipad on top of Smoil and work our way down the rig, but for the sake of the video, we decided to land on the bottom so you guys get to see us work our way from the bottom to the top. Throughout the 4 levels, there are a total of 30 lootable crates. Luckily for us, to enter the blue room, we won't need an electric fuse. All we need is a blue keycard. When first opening the door, please be aware that scientists can spawn in the room. I almost forgot about this and about died, so be aware. As you've seen, there's hardly any loot in this room. That's correct. This room has 2 parts. First is the normal blue room, but honestly, we don't even want the loot in the blue room. We just needed to gain access to the red card room, which is in the next episode in the series. Tune in next week where Trennan and I activate the locked crate beyond the red card door. From there, a helicopter full of heavy scientists will land and attempt to prevent us from gaining access to the crate. Thank you guys for watching. This week, Trennan and I went to Smoil, or Oil Rig, where we cleared out all the scientists guarding it and gained access to the blue keycard room. As always, have a good one, and we'll see you next week.
What? You're saying they don't like the drawing? But I thought it was hilarious. You don't like the bulge? What if I censored it? No? Alright, how about I give them the real Hello there. Welcome back to another episode of Hidden Gems in Gaming. I'm your host, John Taylor, and this is where I showcase games that you may not know about, but let me tell you, I recommend these games are worth a try. This week's game is The Witness. The Witness is a puzzle game that involves exploration in this open-world island that you mysteriously wake up on, and must complete puzzles to unlock and explore more parts of this mysterious place. This single-player game is filled with more than 650 puzzles in dozens of locations across the island. You wake up in this world with no memory of who you are, or how you even got here, or anything. All you have is puzzles to complete with little to no hints on how to complete them, so it is purely up to you to figure out how to solve each puzzle and find your way back to home, wherever that may be. As you explore and complete more puzzles, more and more sections of the island open up, and there are secrets along the way to gain more knowledge of who you are or where you are.
Of all the communities available to us, there's not one I would want to devote myself to, except for the Society of True Searchers, which has very few living members at any time. Albert Einstein, 1924.
The more you explore, the more puzzles become available, and brings the open world aspect to light, as there is so much to do in this game. The Witness was released back in 2016 by Jonathan Blow, the creator of this game, and his idea for this game was for the player to feel a moment of inspiration, or magic moment as he says, when you complete the puzzle, making this game a difficult puzzler, but when you figure it out, it is an amazing feeling of satisfaction. Due to his vision for this game, players like myself have very mixed feelings about this. You reach a roadblock and with no hints or anything, you feel helpless and you don't know what to do. You feel that taking a break and coming back later is the only solution you have. Blow said this game would take the average player 80 hours to complete, and with certain puzzles throughout the game, he said only 1% of players would be able to solve. This game looks absolutely amazing. Walking through the island and exploring this open world game is such a fun experience, you almost forget that you have to complete puzzles to beat it. But if you're willing to take the time and effort to complete each puzzle, it is so worth playing this game. People call this the amazing game you shouldn't play, as if you've played this game, you know it gets very frustrating as you get closer and closer to the end. Even the creator, Jonathan Blow, acknowledges it, and reaching the end of the game is an achievement on its own, and is very difficult to complete. You can take your chances with this game on PC, Xbox, PS4 for $40, even on your phone for $10. But if I were you, I would recommend waiting until it goes on to sale for less than $20. For this game offers so much, but for how much pain it brings you, it may not be worth the $40 price tag. Thanks for tuning in to this week's Hidden Gem. Now if you excuse me, I gotta head back to the mine to find another gem for next week. See you next week.
Hello everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Project Delta. As always, I'm your host, Aaron James, and this week we have...
Cody and Nance.
For a very special episode of Project Delta, we have the host of Nerd Central here. Big news coming this week. Not big news, big release. The Snyder Cut of Justice League. Yeah. And that's something that I know Cody here is very passionate about. And Cody, I was wondering if you could actually explain to me what the Snyder Cut of Justice League is and why it's significant.
Okay, so you remember 2017, right?
Yeah.
Great times, great times.
Except
we were
for
freshmen.
Justice League.
Yeah. So 2017, Justice League comes out. It's 2 hours long, and it's horrible. There's reasons that it's horrible, and those main reasons are Zack Snyder shot this 4-hour-long Lord of the Rings style epic. He had all of photography completed. He was just in post-production doing editing and VFX. Well, in that time, his daughter tragically committed suicide, and so with that, WB saw the opportunity to get rid of the darker tone and stuff that Snyder had set up in the DC universe. Oh, we're going.
Oh, we are going as well, yeah, I'm sorry.
Okay.
I'm probably about to get ran, too.
Okay, so, all right, where was I?
Your focus needs more focus.
Anyway, so they hired Joss Whedon of Avengers fame to do reshoots, and WB issues a mandate saying that the film has to be under 2 hours long. Now, under 2 hours long after 4 hours of a movie had been shot, it's kind of a big task.
And just, I think, 2 hours for a Justice League movie in general, something that, you know, it's the DC's Avengers, essentially, as far as, like, the scale of it, I feel like. Mm-hmm. And 2 hours is not a lot of time to put all these people in the same movie.
Oh, not to mention, this would be Flash, Aquaman, and Cyborg's first appearance in the universe. Yeah, I was going to say, it was just
introducing them, right? Like,
yeah. So, anyway, but Joss Whedon proceeds to do 80 pages of reshoots. And for context, for those who don't understand, a typical script is about 120 pages. So it was pretty much an entirely different movie. Leading to, all the cringe moments we had in Justice League, the Russian families, all that stuff like that.
You didn't like seeing them trapped in that house for half the movie?
No, I didn't.
For the last quarter of it, at least?
No, I didn't like any of the stupid jokes either, where Flash is laying on top of Wonder Woman and then is like, oh, I better get off. Anyway, so that's not the real Justice League. That's Justice League, as we like to say. And fans got word of these behind-the-scenes goings-on, and we were not happy about it for about 3 years. So for those 3 years, it was just nothing but sending things to WB, trying to get them to #release the Snyder Cut for 3 long, agonizing years. And Zack Snyder was amazing about it. Like, he was just pulling in factors about, like, here's what I was going to have, and yes, it does exist, when every media outlet's telling us that it doesn't exist. And we keep going, raising like money for charities about suicide prevention and all kinds of good stuff like that. So it wasn't just a bunch of angry trolls on the internet shouting at a movie studio. We were actually doing some good too.
Now, Cody, all this time, what were you thinking? Where were you at? Like, did you believe it existed and that it was something that we could possibly see one day? Were you hopeful?
I always believed in it.
You always had hope?
Yeah.
That's what I like to hear.
Like, I started to lose hope for a while there, but then at the beginning of the year, Zack Snyder hosted a watch party of Man of Steel, and then Henry Cavill showed up, and he's like, I think you should show him. And he turns the computer around, and it just says in black and white, Zack Snyder's Justice League, HBO Max 2021.
I didn't even know that was how that happened. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Wait, did you say it was like a live stream?
Yes,
or
it was like
the watch event was?
Yep.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
So yeah, it's coming out on Thursday and will be 4 hours long.
And I already know, Cody, that you're going to be either up all night or up at the crack of dawn or before dawn. If it's supposed to release at 2 a.m. on HBO Max in our time zone. So.
Yes. And I will be waking up for it.
And you'll be watching the whole thing right then.
Absolutely. I might even watch it more than once that day. Because
there you go.
This thing has meant a lot to me.
I've heard you talking about it all semester, and I feel like even some of last semester. And I mean, I know that you're passionate about it. I see it on Facebook and on your social media.
Like, when that first trailer dropped and they start playing Hallelujah over it because, like, Hallelujah, the fans won, but also Hallelujah because that was Zack Snyder's daughter's favorite song.
Oh, really?
I was like...
I didn't know that. I knew that, like, he had used the song before, like in Watchmen.
Mm-hmm.
But no, that's pretty cool.
I was, like, legitimately crying at that point.
You're going to be crying after this super hits you. What?
Oh, I forgot how Grundy's
same.
super worked in this game.
But this whole event seems like something that, I'm not going to say it's going to set a new precedent, but like it kind of raises the question of like,
right,
will we get more director's cuts in this vein? Because like you hear about movies getting trifled with studio interference all the time. Like,
sure, like Suicide Squad.
Or even like way back, Ridley Scott, Kingdom of Heaven.
Yes.
I'm trying to think. I don't even know who's in it, but I know that it was a movie that like was panned on release. I'm not gonna lie. I've been mashing the same grapple over and over with. It's too good.
Very rude.
He's too strong, man.
Very rude.
It got a director's cut, which not like this, just a typical director's cut that ended up coming out later, and it was considered much better than the original movie. And like with how much push that the Snyder Cut got to be released, and like how much excitement it's built up, like maybe we'll see more streaming services getting the rights to movies and redoing them. I don't know. I guess this was a special circumstance because he had
everything
all that
shot.
footage shot.
Well, I mean, it's not even a new. It's not even necessarily a new precedent because in 2006 we got the Richard Donner cut of Superman 2.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
That's kind of another situation where Richard
the
Donner
studio took over.
Richard Donner was like, fired halfway through production of Superman 2 or something like that, and Richard Lester came in and finished it up, and everybody says that the Donner Cut's better, and so they released it alongside of Superman Returns.
Yeah.
But I mean, yeah, it's not
So it's not entirely new then.
It's not entirely new.
Some new tidbit of info for me. I had no clue about that.
Oh yeah. But it explains the whole time travel ramifications and the losing of his powers, stuff like that.
I'm sorry.
It makes it a lot easier.
You gotta press it. Okay. Oh, skins. So last week, HBO, Warner Brothers, I'm not really sure who, someone slipped up, and Tom and Jerry, a new release this month as well, brand new Tom and Jerry film, exclusive to HBO Max for a month, would play the Snyder Cut whenever you would try to play Tom and Jerry. And this happened last Monday night, Monday morning, something like that, and apparently you could only watch an hour and 50 minutes of the movie because that's how long Tom and Jerry is.
Right.
But some people got their eyes on it a week early, at least a chunk of it.
Yes.
How do you feel about that? Did you hear about that? Did you watch any of it?
I heard about it too late. I didn't hear about it until this morning, honestly, which was quite unfortunate because if I was one of those people, I'd be very happy. But I've been seeing the memes of crying children seeing the Snyder Cut instead of Tom and Jerry. So
why would they be crying? They should be rejoicing.
Oh, because the Snyder Cut's rated R.
Really?
Yes.
So, okay, Batman vs. Superman, PG-13, wasn't the extended?
Extended edition was also rated R, yes.
Okay, I thought so. Well, that's interesting. We're coming up on the end of the show, Cody. We're about at a time here on Project Delta. Everybody, if you have the means to watch the Snyder Cut this week, do it, and
do it for me.
Hopefully you'll enjoy it. Cody would be very happy. Thanks for coming on the show, Cody. I appreciate it a lot. Thanks for sharing your knowledge on the Snyder Cut, and it's got me excited. I can't wait.
I'm right there with you, my dude.